Welcome, everybody. Happy Tuesday to you out there. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. I am your co-host, Trey Holiday, and you guys know it is anniversary week for us. I gotta bring in my guy, my partner, Big O. What up, Big O? Happy Tuesday.
Trey Holiday, it's Tuesday. This is a big week for us. This is a 1-year anniversary week for the Morning Update Show. Of course, Friday, 7 p.m., we got a big celebration. Also, Thursday is a big week. Thursday, 7 p.m., it's Vanishing Community Voices, the Vanishing Seattle edition, which is going to be real dope. Yeah. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm looking forward to that. How are you today, though?
I'm well. Feeling good on this Tuesday, man. Every day when the sun just wants to burst through in the mornings, I'm loving it.
All right. Few things today. So we got a few live guests. We've got Patrick Burke from the King County Young Democrats. And it's going to be good because the conversation today is about these democracy vouchers, right? And we've also got Gerard Miller from Homestead Community Land Trust. Going to be talking about an affordable home buying program that's going on there. First off, though, we knew this news was coming, and today it is official. So we'll spend a few minutes here talking about this. Bruce Harrell, former councilman Bruce Harrell, announced his run for mayor of Seattle. Now, Bruce, he's from the CD, went to Garfield High School, was a valedictorian, was on the city council. He was mayor for like a week. I think he was city council president as well. He was mayor for like a week in some parliamentary kind of process they had going over there. But Bruce Harrell is now in the race.
Here we go. I mean, we knew it was going to heat up. Ultimately, we've been kind of saying this, predicting it, you know what I mean? Knowing he was going to throw his hat in. We had heard that kind of chatter out there in the ethos. But here it is. It's official. You know what I mean? We knew this race was going to heat up. Oh,
yeah, no, definitely. And I forgot a formality here. Before we keep going on with Bruce Harrell, this is the perfect opportunity to remind you to tag and share the stream. Go ahead and tag and share the Morning Update Show with people who you know could appreciate culturally relevant news and information emanating from here in the Emerald City. So Harrell, let's see here, was first elected to the city council in 2007, re-elected in 2011 and 15, I believe representing D2. Didn't run in 2019, missed the fireworks. That was this last window right here. People were saying that we don't know if the outcomes would have been any different down in City Hall if there was somebody black on the city council.
Yeah, we've been talking about it a lot. I mean, ultimately, I think a lot of folks out there, all across races, those who are really just about like equity have been like, man, we need voices in the council that really are representing these communities that are getting themselves out there. I mean, this huge explosion of Black liberation movement around Black Lives Mattering and all of that. It's really important that, there's some real diversity on the city council. That's what folks have been saying. So you never know. I think, Bruce is like, look, it's time for a diverse mayor. Clearly, he's putting himself out there.
Right. And, there's a lot of Black people running for elected office here in Seattle, either the office of mayor or within the city council. If elected, then Bruce Harrell would be the second Black mayor that Seattle has seen. The first being Norman B. Rice back in the 80s. But Harrell, this might have been why he didn't run for re-election. Most people think he probably would have won D2 again. If he ran for re-election, maybe it was all about positioning himself for this moment here in the city. I don't know Councilmember Harrell too well. I've only met him once or twice. The majority of the time in the recent years he was in office is when I was living in Dubai. So don't know a lot about him personally. Look forward to speaking with the council member more. And as Seattle goes, and it's political season here, Council President Lorena Gonzalez spent no time here preparing a statement about Councilmember Harrell entering the race. And part of that statement reads, I hope he'll join me in pledging to take democracy vouchers, turn down all corporate contributions, denounce any corporate-backed independent expenditures, and refrain from funding his own campaign. I look forward to a healthy debate on how to lead Seattle into becoming a world-class city with opportunities for everyone, not just the super rich. So I'll tell everybody, the way that this works is we get information, it's under embargo, right? And so that's why you see, so we knew it in advance that that this information was coming out, but no one releases it until the time. So the time was 10:30. Council President Gonzalez sent her email at 10:32.
Yeah. No time wasted, obviously, with Council President Gonzalez. I mean, knowing that, Bruce was going to run, I'm sure this statement was drafted up as soon as that was really understood by, her campaign. Clearly, already putting the stakes out there around, hey, how are you going to fund this campaign? Already putting that spotlight on Bruce.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I don't know Council Member Harrell, and so I don't really know where a lot of his positions are. I know some of the things that he was supported before he left the council. But we covered a story a few months ago where he and his wife made $100,000 donation to the University of Washington, and so by all whatever, like he's all the way up, and so so I don't like I said, well, we got to get down to the politics of it, but man, somebody from the Central District went to Garfield, was valedictorian, has done well in his professional career, him and his wife. And, I mean, the first thing that the Council President Gonzalez is saying is like, yeah, don't use that bread. Get on the democracy vouchers. Don't fund your own campaign. I mean, it's refreshing to kind of see somebody from our neighborhood to be able to fund their own campaign. Yeah. But, so we'll see what happens with this. We're going to reach out to Council Member Harrell and see if we can get an interview with him to talk about his why he's running for mayor.
There we go. We can't wait to hear more from former council member Bruce Harrell. I mean, we knew it, man. This race is spicy.
It's gonna be a good race. I think all these races, this is what Seattle needs, though. You know what I'm saying? Seattle needs like some real interesting races here with all kinds of different options and ideas and everything else. This is really what our city needs. I'm waiting to see who else is going to jump in these citywide seats as well for city council. So it'll be interesting. Oh, before I go on, I got to give a big shout out to Vanessa at APRI. Custom made this shirt for me to convert. We only wear like our gear, and so I
only wear our gear.
Well, yes. I only wear our gear. But yeah, and I happen to already have the hat to match. So thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, APRI, the A. Philip Randolph Institute. All right, so it's going to be an interesting race for mayor. Speaking of race for mayor, whoever comes in, whoever wins this this upcoming election here, man, they're going to have their hands full. And especially one of the things that they're going to be dealing with is the issue here with policing, reduction of police budget. The Chief Diaz saying that there's not enough officers and they can't respond to calls timely. There's budgetary issues. This was a clip right here, actually, the King 5 from last night, and they touched on a few different points.
Seattle City Council is once again looking at trimming millions from the police department budget. But tonight, Seattle's chief and business leaders are pushing back. King 5's Chris Daniels explains what this latest move is all about.
Good evening. This is another public policy discussion that is playing out in the Zoom world of city politics, but according to Seattle police, it has real impacts on response times. Away from public view, in a remote environment, Seattle's deputy mayor told a personal story.
Black people were enslaved for over 400 years, and we cannot be expected to get better in a year or two, as there is a lot of repair needed.
A powerful soliloquy, in a certain respect, muted by the COVID circumstances.
When I call the police for help, and I'm a Black woman, I have an expectation that someone will come to assist me in a reasonable amount of time.
Tiffany Washington says she believes SPD call times for even serious violent crime are trending in the wrong direction. SPD is in a staffing crisis. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I recognize that the police department has staffing challenges.
Councilmember Lisa Herbold, who chairs the Public Safety Committee, is continuing to advance a measure which would trim another $5.4 million from the police budget.
I believe that the council actually approved a $5.4 million increase in the police department's budget late last year in recognition that they had overspent last year.
Wasn't there an argument, though, that the reason why they needed that money last year was because of the overtime associated with all of the marches and protests in Seattle?
That is correct.
Those officers left because Councilmember Herbold and a majority of her colleagues last summer told them they were going to cut their jobs. They told them that we're going to reduce the department by 50%. So it's entirely disingenuous to say that your actions as a council member, your words, what you said doesn't matter and doesn't have an impact on safety in this community and public policy.
Downtown Seattle Association President John Scholes points to a need for enforcement, citing blatant street-level robberies of stores like the one seen here. How do you think staffing is right now in the Seattle Police Department?
It's terrible. It's the worst it's been in more than a decade. I think it's, municipal malpractice, the way that our city council has addressed public safety over these last 6 months.
Herbold told me today that despite the calls last summer to defund the police by as much as 50%, it is, in her words, quote, clearly not achievable. The council will discuss this cost-cutting measure again a week from tomorrow. But that is the story for now. In Seattle, I'm Chris Daniels, King 5 News.
Yeah, the new mayor is going to have a lot to deal with, huh?
Absolutely. And I think that it's important that, again, I think some of the things that just, yesterday, Nikita Oliver was pointing out is that it's not just about, defunding the police. It's really about creating measures within community that allow for less of a police force. And when we talk about really treating the whole person, I think about something like homelessness, where we can no longer, push that out to another city like Mercer Island has done. Those kinds of measures don't actually work. We have to look at the root causes of these issues and really treat the root causes. We talk about this often, man. We cannot put Band-Aids on a lot of these issues. We really have to figure out what's at the root.
Yeah, well, I don't think that most people in Seattle are necessarily against treating the root causes. I think that you'll find very few people who are like, well, people shouldn't have a better education or a better foundation and this and that. But there's also something to be said about what's occurring today, though. A lot of the things where people are saying they want in the future are good, and I think they're well intended. But what do we do about today? And what do we do about? There's so many issues in our city. We come from a community that's directly impacted by all kinds of different crime. What do we do today? What's the stopgap? I think that if we're going to look at the issue, we have to look at all parts of the issue. Okay, this is where we want to be. We want to be in a society where, people aren't taking these routes. And one of the things that the city council did is they voted on that $10.4 million. There's RFPs out there for different community groups and organizations to be able to fund programs to keep people from reaching the system. But there's that. But then there's the issue of how crime and crimes impacted today. And so, it's interesting looking at the comments from yesterday. We got a lot of people who are like, they're very much with a lot of what Nikita Oliver was saying. But then you got other people who are like, well, what do we do about today? What do I do with my homes being burglarized today and I need police support? Or if there's a DV call, or if there's a gun violence call and everything else. It just seems to me like a lot of the conversation in our city is either or. And I think that, we have to realistically look at what's occurring right now on the ground and how it's impacting residents. And then we also need to be able to look at, okay, well, how do we make investments into the society that people say they want to see in Seattle.
I think you're so right. And it can't really be an either or right now. I think we're at a space where it really should be a both and. I mean, this is kind of when you have a transference of newness, right? Where there's still this old system that is there. But as that is there and it's there to really help with what you're talking about in terms of people asking, what do we do now? That needs to be there. But in the meantime, I like that there are these investments happening to think about, well, how do we actually treat the whole person? So I think it's really a both and most people need to be able to see that in terms of, right now, yes, there as certain things are decreasing, other things are increasing. So it's just kind of a transference of, from kind of old to new, and really understanding the intersections of both right now, because I think that people are used to what we've had in this country since the inception. So police force is one of those things, right? Where it's like, okay, it comes out of something. It's there to try to make sure that the public is safe. And people are used to that. They're used to being able to call 911 with regard to these, my home. Oh man, this person over here is, trying to break into my car. All of those kind of things is really important for the everyday citizen. And I think it's in my mind, I think of it as a both and approach.
Right. Well, when we had Kevin Schofield here the other day, and he was reporting on the HSD presentation that was made to City Council, and that's actually when Deputy Mayor Tiffany Washington had made those statements, and we aired those statements. The one thing that the city is saying is they have all kinds of organizations that are out there to be able to deal with these different intersections of how people actually end up in the criminal justice system. They said that the one community-led based or group or organization that they don't have, that they're not aware of, is people to respond to 911 calls. Mm-hmm. And I mean, like right now, it's $10.4 million RFP that's out there. And I mean, that's one space that's open is, okay, well, if community is going to respond or there's going to be different approaches, I mean, now is really the time. So, I mean, if there's community groups out there that feel that they can put together a response to 911 calls, the city has put out an RFP through the HSD department. There's actually funds out there for that. But I don't think what can happen is that we keep saying, okay, there needs to be an alternative approach. There needs to be an alternative approach. And I think a lot of people want to, even the police want an alternative approach to a lot of these calls. And now there's an open call for community. People who are out there who have experience with this, this is literally the time, and there's actually money out there to fund this. So, I mean, this is the time. I mean, people said that this is what they wanted. The city's moving in a direction to be able to support that financially. But I mean, the people who have the skill set to be able to do that, this is the time for them to make themselves known.
Agreed, 100%. And I think too that, what I know about some of the things that are taking place is that folks are really finding different approaches, right? How do we ensure that our communities are safe using a relational approach, using some of the measures that have worked in these organizations over the years, and really bringing that to the surface and expanding a lot of those resources so that more and more of the territories can kind of be covered. I think that it's a great thing that the city is making this investment. And the one thing I want to say to groups out there that are looking to utilize this investment and do something different, show a new approach, that finding ways to collectively do this work is really imperative right now. I think one of the things that we really have to be careful of is sometimes when the RFP comes out and it gets people to competing and everybody's kind of scrambling for the dollars, that's not necessarily what really benefits in, real wins for the community. So finding ways to do it collectively, finding okay, this is what you guys do, this is what we do, let's figure out a way to combine our efforts. I think that's really the way to go. And I'm excited to see how this RFP really works in terms of real effective measures that hit the ground.
Yeah. I mean, I got a little bit different approach to that. I think that people should compete for the best. I mean, as the taxpayers deserve the best services, or at least some kind of level of vetting. I mean, the RFP process, a big part of that is also a vetting process to see, okay, is someone really actually qualified for this heavy lift? Are they qualified for the job? I think it's a good idea what you're saying, if I hear you correctly, that different community organizations could probably work together as far as going through the process. But, this is this is one of those moments. I keep hitting on this, and we'll see. We'll get Kevin back. Maybe we'll get the director of HSD on the show to talk about this more, because this was something that people across the city, enough people across the city, said that they wanted, and these funds are there. And so this is, again, if people have an alternative solution to dialing 911, and responding to these 911 calls, HSD is looking for you, and they got some money for you too.
There we go.
All right, that's good news for renters. Durkin extends eviction moratorium as local state leaders consider further protections. This is by our buddy Carolyn Bick over at the South Seattle Emerald. Said on Monday, Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin announced the extension of the city's current moratorium through June 30th, 2021. The state legislature is also looking to push their moratorium out because it ends March 31st. And of course, there's people at City Council that want to push this through the end of the year. But for now, no one's getting evicted in the city of Seattle through June 30th.
I think one of the biggest things about this, is, so many folks have been like, well, how do we deal with this? Because honestly, this is one of the top priorities across our nation. COVID has hit so many different sectors that it's important to think about how we can look at this from almost a federal level. I think each state has their own specific characteristics that they're dealing with, but ultimately, a lot of these issues are very similar across the board. It's not just hitting renters. We know it's hitting smaller landlords, those who just have single family homes that are like, look, I need help with, my mortgage. If my renters are not paying, I think that there is a larger need right now for folks to be thinking about this really at a federal level. And this is one of the things I was hoping that new administration and the White House would really bring, because, we've seen a bailout from the banks before. Maybe that's the way to go, so that they can freeze all of this time until people can really get back to work safely and figure out, what, you guys, we're going to forgive that. We're going to forgive that debt. We're going to move forward. We're going to do some bailout so folks that need it have it, but we're going to move forward in a way that doesn't put the burden back on renters. I think one of the biggest concerns is, how can someone effectively pay back what they owe if they haven't been making that money? And many people are working poor or lower class, living paycheck to paycheck. Their money that they end up making, again, once they're able to go back to work and into the workforce, doesn't actually allow them to have the funds needed to pay the back rents. So I think there's a lot going on when it talks about protecting renters. And, shout out to those of you who've been able to cover your rent throughout the pandemic, that were able to work from home, and all of that. But there's such a large part of our population that has not been able to do that. And I think looking at this from a more of a federal level, and not putting this on each state's governor necessarily to figure out a plan for their state, I think that's really the way to go with this.
Yeah. And like here in Seattle, where Black property ownership is in constant decline, we kind of look at things one way, but where I went to college, and then where I'm down, I visit my dad in North Carolina and my family in Houston, there's Black property. We forget about the property owner. In Seattle, we don't really think about property owners. When you think about, nationally, it's a lot of Black property owners, apartment buildings, houses, and everything else that are impacted. Like, we see the numbers here are low. Most of the Black people own houses in the city. It isn't a rental property. They live in the property. But in other parts of America, the homeowner, I think there has to be some kind of homeowner relief as well, or mortgage relief or something, because it's not just big corporations that are getting hit, when there's no rent coming in. There's everyday people. Disturbing story. We talked to Naomi Ishisaka a week ago about this, the increase in hate crimes against Asian Americans, not only here in Seattle, but nationally. But here's another story here of how King 5 covered several anti-Asian hate rallies.
It is, and this is part of a series of protests that really started on Saturday, yesterday, and to today. And by the way, Senators Maria Cantwell and Patty Murray have joined Senator Mazie Hirono of Hawaii in sponsoring a bill to try to get after this problem of Asian hate, which they say Washington is now ranking number 4. This morning at a church in the Pinehurst neighborhood of North Seattle, the message largely destroyed. But in this photo shared on Facebook this morning, the message was sharp. Expletive, China, you will pay. 3 days of protest against hatred toward Asians.
I am tired of opening up my phone to news headlines of our people, our elders, brutally shoved, pushed, slapped, stabbed, and even murdered.
From Hing Park in Seattle on Saturday to a corner in Maple Valley on Sunday.
Stand up!
A sign saying people are not the virus, but maybe racism is. Protests designed to change minds.
It's more about diminishing our model minority myth, the myth of being quiet.
In King County alone, prosecutors filed charges in 59 hate crimes against Asians versus 39 in 2019. 59, just shy of double the 30 cases in 2018. Protests that are the opposite of staying silent in the wake of growing assaults nationwide. And while this is the last event of this round, we shouldn't expect that this will be the last we hear from this community. Live in Renton, Glenn Farley, King 5 News.
Yeah, like racism is a violent virus, and like hate, man, people are always finding a reason to hate somebody.
You know, it's something that, you know, our community has dealt with, I mean, just generation after generation. And ultimately, I love what that young woman said there in terms of, look, you know, this is about defiling that myth about being a model minority, being quiet when our people are suffering, you know, personally. I think that this is important for all of us to understand. And hate is hate, man, and hate is wrong. I mean, we talk about calling right and wrong all the time. And it doesn't matter who you're hating against. At the end of the day, that hate coming out towards any type of people is just wrong. And this is something that definitely needs to be talked about. I'm glad that they're actually utilizing their voices, gathering together to say, we will not stand for this. We will not tolerate this. I think it's important.
Yeah. Gary Locke, former Governor Gary Locke and Ambassador Gary Locke was out there in the International District the other day. Man, but you know, man, our state and our city, because we got all these disproportional numbers, man, for hate crimes, which is totally goes against the narrative of who we say we are. You know, it's really weird when we talk about, you know, our city is so understanding and it's open and so liberal and progressive. But man, the numbers are like, it's just disproportional when we talk about hate crimes. Yeah. Hey, we're going to take a quick break here in a second. Let's just handcraft it here. I got Patrick Burke from King County Young Democrats. Timely discussion today with Councilmember Harrell entering the mayor's race and Council President Gonzalez clapping back, saying, take the democracy voucher pledge. So we're going to talk to Patrick Burke all about democracy vouchers. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
The Seattle Association of Black Journalists presents the Morning Update Show 1-year anniversary special this Friday, March 19th at 7 p.m. Join the Converge Media family as we broadcast live from the State Hotel in downtown Seattle, and we take a look back at the last 12 months of the Morning Update Show and a glance towards the future. This is a night you won't want to miss and definitely won't forget, as we're also joined by Julia Jesse, Besa Gordon, Marcus Harrison Green, Jake Gravbrot, Be Unique, Dre's, Eric Calligraphy, Bobby Stills, Mike Davis, Carlos Imani, Willard Jimerson, G. Prez Aspie, DJ Topspin, and more. Woo! So save the date this Friday, March 19th at 7 p.m. across all Converge Media platforms.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Community Voices returns for 2021 with 2 very special episodes that examine the shifting demographics and cultures of Seattle. Converge Media proudly presents Community Voices, the Vanishing Seattle edition. This is a 2-part special that examines 4 Seattle neighborhoods: the Central District, Chinatown International District, the University District, and Ballard, all Seattle neighborhoods that have experienced great change and displacement due to gentrification, rising rents, and development. as well as found creative ways to stay rooted and resilient. Also, all neighborhoods that have a long and proud history, culture, and traditions that combined help shape the face of the Emerald City as we know it today. The Community Voices episodes will include films plus discussions with local small business owners and community members. These are 2 powerful live episodes that you will not want to miss. So make sure and save the date, March 18th and March 25th at 7 p.m. across all Converge Media platforms. Presented by the City of Seattle Department of Neighborhoods and Vanishing Seattle.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omari Salisbury.
Hey, and I'm Trey Holiday. What's going on, y'all?
Trey Holiday. I like that purple lipstick.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're always partial to purple around here.
There we go.
All right, so it's this time of year. It's where we're talking about campaigns and funding campaigns and some everything else. So we thought that we would get some insights and reached out to Patrick Burke from the King County Young Democrats. Can you bring Patrick on screen, please?
Morning.
Oh.
Morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. How are you guys?
Good morning.
We're okay. So I wanted to talk to you today about democracy vouchers, but maybe the first thing you can do is quickly tell us, I mean, the name kind of says it all, but you can tell us King County Young Democrats, what's it all about?
Well, right now, the King County Young Democrats, it's really important for us to get information about campaigns, candidates, legislation, upcoming propositions, and really make sure that our membership, who typically identify as young Democrats, that's what you have to be if you want to join our group, and you have to be under the age of 36. And we just are really pushing this year to make sure that all the information, our community, not just our membership, gets the absolute best information that they can get when they make these upcoming decisions on voting and their democracy vouchers.
Okay, good stuff. So question here then about these democracy vouchers. I've kind of explained them the other day, but maybe you can explain briefly to our viewers, what are the democracy vouchers all about?
Democracy vouchers really gives a candidate an opportunity to have a leg in the race that they might not otherwise have the chance. This is a publicly funded program. The money comes from a tax, from property taxes locally. If you're somebody that doesn't have resources, that doesn't have the connections within the state party, that might not have a campaign manager or a consultant on standby, this gives you an opportunity to bring in people from your community, give them a decent wage, and be able to give that community that money that's like brought in either through donations or the democracy vouchers and give it directly back to the community. And I feel that's the way we should be going.
Right. And so what are you mentioned some of the pros, but what are the cons?
Well, I would say in the message that you just relayed from Councilmember Gonzalez, like she's asking Bruce Harrell to participate in the program, but by doing that, it's limiting what he can bring in. By not participating in the program, he can bring up to $550 per individual. If you're in the program, you can only bring in $300 plus another $100 with the democracy vouchers. Oh, sorry, that's the mayor race. You can still do the $500 per individual. So it almost seems like, why does it make sense? If you really dive into some of the language, some of the amendments that were made on democracy vouchers were proposed by Lorena Gonzalez and someone that happens to be her chief of staff who's also running for office, Breonna Thomas. And you look at the language and you really try to figure out who is this benefiting. So you kind of have to go through some of the legal language and some of the mumbo jumbo to find out what's going on. So I would think, yeah.
Why would one candidate? So, I mean, of course, you can't speak on the Gonzalez campaign per se, but like, why does that? Why would it benefit one candidate to say, "Hey, I hope you take a pledge to only use democracy vouchers, not take other donations, corporations, and everything else"? It seems like that's almost, if you're running for election, I mean, most people want to raise as many funds as they can, right?
You would. I really think at this point, maybe it could just be about public perception. I mean, right here in her message that she says that she wants the people to be, she wants the mayor must be held accountable to the people. Is the only way the mayor is held accountable to the people by participating in the democracy vouchers? I don't think so. And there's also language about a limited contributor committee. And if you start looking at that language, actually some of the contributions you can get if you participate in the democracy voucher actually goes up. And that comes from local organizations with members of at least, I believe, 75.
So my question to you then, Patrick, is I just want to make sure I'm hearing this right. If a candidate participates in the democracy vouchers, does it mean that they then are not getting corporate donations or any kind of corporate backing? Or does it mean that the corporate backing has to fit within the parameters or limitations of the amount of donations?
It really comes down to how independent expenditures are reported. If it's an independent expenditure and you're not in the program, I believe it can be pretty broad. But it's very specific. But if you're in the democracy voucher program, it's pretty broad because you're not getting the big money from the corporations. You're getting it from minor organizations, and that's kind of what some of this legislation that was introduced 2 years ago to kind of help curtail some of the influx coming in from like big PACs and stuff like that.
And one more question to you then, in terms of the young Democrats, do you guys see, large corporations as a big part of the problem sometimes? Does that mean that then the candidate is really doing the bidding of those kind of corporations versus really listening to the constituents?
I honestly, I don't know if I can speak on behalf of my organization on this. I would just say from my personal experience, I don't know if corporations are exactly the problem. Yeah, you get people that work, we have a lot of people in the city that work for Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, Google, and they have influence within their own organization. But what I really feel like it needs to come to is when we are giving the democracy voucher funds to a candidate, is that money going directly to people that are from the community, or is it going to a massive consultant group? And I feel like that's kind of where we need to start focusing some of that the detailed language on, because I think ultimately when this was brought on, it was to get money out of politics. And right now, I don't see money getting out of politics. If anything, year over year, there's more and more money getting involved in the city politics.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. So you talk about the King County Young Democrats. There's a lot of people that are in the race. This is shaping up to be looks like it's going to shape up to be a pretty interesting mayor's race. And right now, D9 is already pretty interesting. We'll see what happens with the other citywide seat. Is this the kind of engagement in local politics that your organization likes to see, as far as the number of candidates that we're already seeing right now and the spectrum of candidates?
Yeah, KCUID, we stand to have really a broad range of candidates. I think it's really important for us to have our leadership reflect what we look like. When we start having South End candidates being able to be a part of the process more, I feel like that's what's going to solve some of the issues that we've been having. So at KCYD, we are making sure this year to elevate some of the candidates that might not get some of the space on some candidate forums. So we're going to highlight some really specific youthful questions and hopefully get some real honest answers out of some of these folks, because that's really what we need, is the real honest answers and how they're going to solve some of these issues like you've covered today.
Right. Yeah. Well, I will wish you good luck with getting honest answers out of politicians, but I salute you for making the effort to do so. Before we let you go, how can people keep up with the King County Young Democrats?
Yeah, we're on Facebook at King County Young Democrats. You could just type it in there, or we're at kingcountyyoungdemocrats.org. You can come and join us for our next upcoming meeting, which is I believe it's the last Sunday of every month. So just kind of join in, or just hit up on our Facebook and send us a message.
All right, Patrick Burke, King County Young Democrats. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you.
All right.
Wow.
So there's lots of information out there. The King County Young Democrats are really trying hard to get a lot of information out to the community. I know a lot of Converge viewers always wanting to learn new stuff. So we'll see how we can kind of collaborate with them more.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I mean, ultimately, sometimes folks get a little bit wrapped up into the jargon, right, of it all. Like, hey, what does this really mean for folks? You're talking about democracy dollars. What does it really mean? I think that's important that he was able to give some real clarity there.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, we're going to take a quick break right now. When we come back, we're talking to Gerard Miller of Homestead. There we go. Of Homestead Community Land Trust, talking about how you can buy an affordable house, like our viewers, affordable. Affordable is like subjective kind of word here in the city of Seattle. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
The Seattle Association of Black Journalists presents the Morning Update Show 1 year anniversary special this Friday, March 19th at 7 p.m. Join the Converge Media family as we broadcast live from the State Hotel in downtown Seattle, and we take a look back at the last 12 months of the Morning Update Show and a glance towards the future. This is a night you won't want to miss and definitely won't forget, as we're also joined by Julia Jesse, Basa Gordon, Marcus Harrison Green, Jake Gravgrot, Be Unique, Dre's, Eric Calligraphy, Bobby Stills, Mike Davis, Carlos Imani, Willard Jimerson, G. Prez Aspie, DJ Topspin, and more. Woo! So save the date this Friday, March 19th at 7 p.m. across all Converge Media platforms.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Community Voices returns for 2021 with 2 very special episodes that examine the shifting demographics and cultures of Seattle. Converge Media proudly presents Community Voices, the Vanishing Seattle edition. This is a 2-part special that examines 4 Seattle neighborhoods: the Central District, Chinatown International District, the University District, and Ballard, all Seattle neighborhoods that have experienced great change and displacement due to gentrification, rising rents, and development, as well as found creative ways to stay rooted and resilient. Also, all neighborhoods that have a long and proud history, culture, and traditions that combined help shape the face of the Emerald City as we know it today. The Community Voices episodes will include films plus discussions with local small business owners and community members. These are 2 powerful live episodes that you will not want to miss. So make sure and save the date, March 18th and March 25th at 7 p.m. across all Converge Media platforms. Presented by the City of Seattle Department of Neighborhoods and Vanishing Seattle.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. And yes, save the date. 2 important dates this week. That is March 18th, which is Thursday, 7 p.m. Community Voices, Vanishing Seattle, Episode 1. Then, of course, Friday, 7 o'clock. Tell everybody about that as well. It's the 1 year anniversary special, broadcasting live from the State Hotel in downtown Seattle. All right, Trey Holiday, this is a topic that's near and dear to your heart, something you've been working with the last few years: land trust and land ownership and home ownership. Oh, yeah. Please bring in Gerard Miller.
Hey. Hi, Gerard.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Glad to have you with us.
Likewise. Good to be here.
Well, good. Let's dive right into it because, Homestead and Africatown Community Land Trust have partnered together to really try to bring this opportunity of affordable home ownership right into the Central District. Tell us a little bit more about the project before we get into the Home Buyers Club.
Sure. So Homestead Community Land Trust and Africatown Community Land Trust are working together on a new development in, people will argue whether it's Central District or Judkins Park, but it is called Village Gardens. And I'm trying to bring up my screen now. And Village Gardens is a development, will be 16 homes in Lashai Central District. It's developed by Homestead Community Land Trust with edge developers, and Village Gardens will create 10 affordable homeownership opportunities for income qualified families. When we say income qualified families, we mean folks who make less than 80% of the area median income. And we have a handy dandy chart on this website, which will give you the year's income qualifications as of 2020. And it's loading right now. But this will be a development that is intended to be a place for people. The site was formerly used as a community garden by folks in the neighborhood some years ago. And so that's part of the garden's name, is that we want to reinfuse that space with that neighborhood and community feel.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, sorry. So, I mean, for people who couldn't read
We are
it,
working
they're
in partnership with African Community Land Trust.
Well, I was saying, for people who couldn't read it, they're off the screen. Maybe you can just tell us, I mean, how much, and a lot of people don't know these percentages and everything else, just in straight layman's term. Like, I mean, what for I don't know, a family of four, if they wanted an opportunity to buy a home there. And by the way, and for other people, it's an argument, but for us here, Judkins Park is definitely part of the Central District.
Absolutely.
Was home for the Central Area Youth Association, and is now home of the CD Panthers.
Yeah.
So there's no equivocation here. That's 100% the Central District. But I digress.
Yes,
in layman's term, how much is one of these houses selling for, or these townhomes selling for?
So we are still in the process of building, so we won't have final home prices yet. We're looking somewhere in the range of 300 to 330. That's the closest ballpark I'm comfortable giving right now. The income qualification, you said, for a family of four. A family of four cannot make more than $95,250.
In order to qualify. And so I know that you're also here to really help promote this home buyers club, because I think that one of the things that has been talked about, from a community level, and Homestead and ACLT, both community land trusts, really recognize that people need a tiered step way of understanding how to prepare themselves for one of these opportunities for home ownership. Can you talk a little bit more about the Home Buyers Club that is launching also to give these people more information?
Yes. Our Home Buyers Club is designed to help people who are not quite in the place they need to be in order to qualify as a first-time home buyer, but understand what those steps are. And so the Home Buyers Club is designed as 8 sessions, which will cover everything from mortgages and what the general qualifications are. We'll talk about building up a budget. We'll talk about repairing our credit. We'll talk about the differences between renting and owning, lifestyle changes from going from being a tenant to being a homeowner. We'll talk about what the real estate market looks like, and we'll hone in on what it really means to be a community land trust homeowner. Community land trust is a really exciting opportunity because one of the ways that the homes are made more accessible and affordable is that a land trust takes that home and that land off of the regular market. And so we're able then to, with further subsidies, drive down the price of the homes to make them accessible for people in the future. So we run through all of that during the Home Buyers Club. We are having an info session this coming Saturday at 10:30 a.m. In partnership with Africatown Community Land Trust. Trey will be there to give you an understanding, a more in-depth understanding of what the program will entail. The Home Buyers Club itself will begin on April 10th and run roughly every 2 weeks from then. We have made allowances for all the national holidays, as well as things that should be national holidays, such as Juneteenth. If you have questions about Village Gardens, the development, or the Home Buyers Club, you can go to Village Gardens Townhomes. That's one word, villagegardenstownhomes.com. There's information about the homes, including some artist renderings, the income qualifications. There are floor plans, as well as links to sign up for the Home Buyers Club, links to join our interest list, which is the big thing. On our interest list, we send out anytime a property is available for sale. You can find out if you qualify for our program, you'll get an email in your inbox with details about the home and how to move forward with an in-person showing. So we're planning for the actual homes at Village Gardens to be ready in around September. And so the Home Buyers Club is designed to get those people who are not ready on deck to be able to apply in earnest come August, September.
All right, so we put the links to both Homestead Community Land Trust and the links there to that development in the comments for people to click on that. And well, I hear you correctly, you didn't want to exactly nail down because you're still in construction right now, but it sounds like generally a townhome there in the Central District near Judkins Park would be about $330,000, and a maximum income family of 4 would be $95,000 or somewhere in there. There was some questions about affordability and compared to what houses cost in that neighborhood, that definitely falls into a different tier, maybe a more accessible one. Yeah. Gerard Miller, we're gonna let you go. Thank you so much for the information and good luck on Saturday. I know Trey will be there with you.
Thanks, Gerard.
See you soon. We're gonna take a quick break, real quick, and then you got to go.
Yeah.
You're watching the Morning Update Show.
The Seattle Association of Black Journalists presents the Morning Update Show 1-year anniversary special this Friday, March 19th at 7 p.m. Join the Converge Media family as we broadcast live from the State Hotel in downtown Seattle, and we take a look back at the last 12 months of the Morning Update Show and a glance towards the future. This is a night you won't want to miss and definitely won't forget, as we're also joined by Julia Jesse, Besa Gordon, Marcus Harrison Green, Jake Gravbrot, Be Unique, Trays, Eric Calligraphy, Bobby Stills, Mike Davis, Carlos Imani, Willard Jimerson, G-Prez Aspie, DJ Topspin, and more. Woo! So save the date this Friday, March 19th at 7 p.m. across all Converge Media platforms.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Community Voices returns for 2021 with 2 very special episodes that examine the shifting demographics and cultures of Seattle. Converge Media proudly presents Community Voices, the Vanishing Seattle edition. This is a 2-part special that examines 4 Seattle neighborhoods: the Central District, Chinatown International District, the University District, and Ballard, all Seattle neighborhoods that have experienced great change and displacement due to gentrification, rising rents, and development, as well as found creative ways to stay rooted and resilient. Also, all neighborhoods that have a long and proud history, culture, and traditions that combined help shape the face of the Emerald City as we know it today. The Community Voices episodes will include films plus discussions with local small business owners and community members. These are 2 powerful live episodes that you will not want to miss. So make sure and save the date, March 18th and March 25th at 7 p.m. across all Converge Media platforms. Presented by the City of Seattle Department of Neighborhoods and Vanishing Seattle.
All right, Trey Holiday, get ready to get out here a little bit early today. Any last words?
You know what? I just want to say a shout out to everybody that has been supporting us this week and this anniversary week, man. It's just making me feel so good. And really, it's because of all of you. You know, I am so thankful to the folks that out in community are just like, hey, man, you and Omari, you guys over at Converge, you guys are killing it. That's the kind of stuff that keeps me going. So shout out to all of you for supporting us.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for your support. I don't think I have anything else today, so I will say this. Remember to go forward in your go forward in your purpose, go forward in your humanity. Until tomorrow at 11 a.m. Peace.
Lift every voice and sing till earth in heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought
son of a new day.